Hollywood and historians have two different versions of Davy Crockett's death at the Alamo. There have been several movies made about the tragic events that occurred on the final day of the epic battle. Each movie has its own version of the events of that day, but all portray Crockett gallantly fighting until his final breath against the overwhelming odds that faced the brave Americans on that fateful day. There is no doubt that he did fight with great honor and valor during those final hours, but there is another version of his death that seems to be corroborated to the point of being almost irrefutable as the true scenario of the events of March 6, 1836. In 1955, a purported memoir from Mexico had the audacity to claim that Crockett surrendered rather than dying in battle. That version of the story was treated as only blasphemous hearsay until it was translated into English in 1975. As historians started looking at corroborating evidence, the story began to change. One of the first official reports coming after the battle came from Sam Houston on March 11, 1836, and said as follows, quote, "After the fort was carried, 7 men surrendered and called for Santa Anna and quarter." End quote. Houston did not specifically name Crockett. However, newspaper articles soon after the battle reported that a group of defenders did indeed surrender. The Morning Courier and New York Enquirer reported on July 9, 1836, quote, 6 Americans were discovered near the wall, yet unconquered. Undaunted, Davy Crockett stepped forward to face General Santa Anna and looked at him steadfastly in the face. End quote. The survivor's captor, Manuel Fernandez Castrillan, asked Santa Anna how he wished to proceed. The Mexican commander replied, "Have I not told you before how to dispose of them?" Several junior officers pulled their swords and swiftly and cruelly plunged the swords into the chests of the defenseless prisoners. There are other accounts from Mexican witnesses. Ramon Martinez Caro, Santa Anna's personal secretary, reported in a 1837 pamphlet that, quote, "There were 5 who were discovered by General Castrillan, while soldiers stepped out of their ranks and set up prisoners until they were all killed." End quote. Jose Enrique de la Peña's memoir offers a somewhat different version. Quote, "Some 7 men had survived the general carnage, and under the protection of General Castrillan, they were brought before Santa Anna. Among them was the naturalist David Crockett, well known in North America for his unusual adventures. Santa Anna answered Castrillan's intervention in Crockett's behalf with a gesture of indignation, and addressing himself to the troops closest to him, ordered his execution. The commanders and officers were outraged at this action and did not support the order. But several officers who were around the president and who, perhaps, had not been present during the moment of danger, thrust themselves forward, and with swords in hand fell upon these unfortunate, defenseless men just as a tiger leaps upon his prey. Though tortured before they were killed, these unfortunates died without complaining and without humiliating themselves before their torturers." End quote. Dan Kilgore, author of How Did Davy Die, concludes, quote, 4 officers and a sergeant, all of whom participated in the assault and observed the final tragedy, specifically identified Crockett as one of the captives. Their accounts have come to light over a long period of time, several having surfaced only recently. Any one of them standing alone could be subject to question, but considered as a whole, the statements provide stronger documentation than can be claimed for any other incident during the battle. End quote. Simply put, the preponderance of evidence strongly suggests that David Crockett was indeed captured in the aftermath of the battle at the Alamo and was cruelly and unceremoniously murdered at the command of the Mexican general Santa Anna. James A. Shackford, in his book titled David Crockett, has most succinctly and eloquently summarized the death of Mr. Crockett as follows, quote, "Too much has been made over the details of how David died at the Alamo. Such details are not important. What is important is that he died as he had lived. His life was one of indomitable bravery. His death was a death of intrepid courage. His life was one of wholehearted dedication to his concepts of liberty. He died staking his life against what he regarded as intolerable tyranny." End quote. If you enjoyed this video, please make a comment, give a thumbs up, and click on the football to subscribe to the channel. You can also click on the other videos which detail other historical people and events. As always, thanks for watching.